Hey everybody, it is Eric, it is Nick. We are back from Road America and the Rost-Oleum Spray and Slay. Yeah, somehow they let us back into Road America. We had great Wisconsin food, we had Rost-Oleum, and we had a parade.
Yep, there's a parade at this race. The nearby town of Elkhart Lake welcomed all of the 145 Lemons cars to parade down Main Street and park right in front of Siebkin's Resort and Bar. Unlike last year, it wasn't raining. There were plenty of Wisconsin-grade snacks for everyone, and the Lemons people just brought amazing vibes and themes. Part of many of those themes was shameless pandering to our new sponsor for this event, Rost-Oleum.
Most notably, that came from the Wonderment Consortium, who have this terrible Volkswagen Passat TDI. The Passat was on three wheels for most of the weekend, going through corners, all classic Volkswagen things. And we'll talk about some more Rost-Oleum themes later, but this was really, really good.
Now, all of you who have raced in Lemon's Midwest region know this tradition of Mary Sealhorse from Hell Kitty Racing creating a custom new original song for every race.
Just sit right back and watch us fail to sail our minnow ship. We had high hopes for our cutlass fox, but it's still a piece of shit.
Hell Kitty also brought us this very creative portable game show, and the judges were quick to jump in as contestants.
You can do it, Eric!
Wait a minute, that one's still a little warm, just so you know.
Oh, it is. Ooh, it's a little warm.
As we mentioned, lots of great themes at the parade and through the weekend. The team formerly known as the League of Legitimate Nigerian Businessmen set up their own counterfeit lemon staff theme. That was really great. They had their own shirts, which were misspelled STAPH. They also had signs in the paddock for pre-tech, which they lured unsuspecting teams up to. Those guys were a little confused about the spelling on the shirts and why there were people weighing their batteries and checking tires against black swatches and playing forklift safety videos. I think they figured it out eventually. Those same guys also at the parade were fake judges with their own stencil and taking bribes from us. That was maybe less good. They had a sign-in sheet for the drivers meeting. These guys kind of thought of everything, so we honored them with a pre-award ceremony and a pre-award for their pre-tech bit. All in all, pretty genius, but please, for the love of God, never do this again.
2024 was a year of Olympics, and so this team had an Olympic theme.
I am feeling very Olympic today. How about you?
Eddie the Eagle was, in 1988, Great Britain's only representative for the ski jump. Was he good at the ski jump? He was better than me at the ski jump, but that's not the point. Everybody loved him. So this team took Eddie the Eagle, incorporated it into their Lemons theme and their team name, which of course is Audi the Eagle.
You know, these kinds of stories just remind us that Lemons is really tough, and getting through a weekend and getting to the end of the race is its own victory.
Yeah, so what we're saying is that Audi the Eagle didn't do great, but at least they finished, right?
Well, actually,
In that track, look at him go! Oh!
want to know how to bribe the judges? The Pyrrhic Victory Focus guys are jiu-jitsu students. They showed Judge Mary at the last race how to do a hold. This time they showed Judge Shelley how to do the guillotine.
Team Fiery Death was there. They're a longtime Lemons team that goes all the way back to Nelson's Ledges, and in more recent years they've done a theme based on the legendary college basketball coach Bobby Knight. Now, sadly, since the last time they did this theme, Coach Knight passed away at the age of 83, but that didn't stop this team from continuing their theme with a very respectful update to the Bobby Knight situation.
Hey Nick, didn't Bobby Knight get fired from Indiana? Man, I can't remember. Why was that?
God damn it! This show. Take this show and forget it. Forget
bastard.
Occupy Saturn did a topical Boeing Starliner space capsule theme. That is, of course, the spaceship that is now stuck in orbit. Apparently it has low miles, ran when parked, and just needs a battery or something. Their car has on the bumper a little sign that says "No step, rude, because I always put my foot on it." This time around they rigged that area with a car horn.
It's a trap!
Alpha Wolf Squadron was a rookie team with a 2006 Mini Cooper convertible. You know, I was on the press launch for the Mini Cooper convertible. They held that in Minneapolis. Get it?
This is so wacky, yeah, I can't believe it.
Anyway, this team was wolves. They had Teen Wolf, they had the Big Bad Wolf, and a bunch of just non-denominational wolves. Well done.
Not to be outdone by the Wolf team, the shifting racing guys and their Saab 9000 had a great skunk theme. It had previously been kind of half-baked. They fully baked it this time.
There's a dead skunk in the middle of the road.
Daisy Dukes Racing, they've done like 15 races, but for this one, they finally rethemed their Porsche 944 with a Pink Floyd Dark Side of the Moon theme.
I want to talk about Last and Ludicrous, which is a Mazda MX-3, and first of all, this car is awesome. We never see the base model of this, which has the 80 horsepower version of the Miata engine, and this one's absolutely stock. This was one of two election-themed cars, and it was a Parks and Rec / Leslie Knope for President theme. Pretty convincing arguments, gotta say.
If he holds the reality gem, that means he can jump from different realities. This will be our link to the Marvel Universe from the Star Wars universe.
Now here we've got Byebye Brib in their Volvo 240. This is a car that showed up on the Rust Belt Lemons Rally just a couple of weeks before this Road America race. So they brought that car to Road America to race to celebrate team member Brian's bachelor party.
We had the Capristi boys and their chopped top Chevy Caprice. This thing is one of the coolest looking cars in Lemons. It has an old school truck, like 350 with a 4-speed Muncie. In the past, it's run about 9 laps in 2 races. This time it ran almost an entire day. Unfortunately, it leaked a bunch of oil, but Jesus, just look at this thing.
What's better than a Lemons team with a Triumph TR7? A team with 2 Triumph TR7s. That's exactly what Wally's aged Cheddarheads have. Their original one's got a 3.8 Buick V6 from an 82 Riviera. That car won IOE at Autobahn earlier this year. And hot on the heels of that success, they added a second TR7. We expected it to have a V8 or something, but instead, it had another Buick V6, this time from an 85 Regal. Awesome.
We just talked about a Camaro, a Caprice, and some Buick engines, so why don't we talk about Oldsmobiles? That can't be right. It's a lot of GM stuff in a short... it's Wisconsin.
Tan Sierra!
Now this is Racing for Nichols and their Cutlass Sierra, and they have been racing with us since 2010, and it's amazing that it just does what it does because they've literally changed nothing about it in 14 years. It is the same 2.8 liter 60-degree V6 with a 3-speed automatic, and they spend their time on important things like making homemade sausage. Also very Wisconsin. You know which Cutlass Sierra didn't run all weekend? The one that didn't have the stock motor in it. That indestructible swapped 3800, 0 laps.
All right, that's enough GM stuff. Let's talk about the 77 Alfa Romeo.
Wait. No, one more GM. Gutless Cutlass Racing had their Oldsmobile Cutlass Supreme.
This is an Oldsmobile 307. No shit.
With a great Gilligan's Island theming. They had the car done up like the SS Minnow. They had a bridge on it. Unfortunately, it was in a crash that probably is the end of the car, but they almost had it repaired until Gilligan went to demonstrate its roadworthiness.
All right, Mulsanne straitjackets, 77 Alpha Spider. They have made an Alpine A210 replica out of this car. It looks amazing. It hasn't raced in a while. And so they put it up for a little pre-race prep, and somehow this 77 Alpha was rustier than they remembered. So they scraped all of this rust into a bucket, and then they weighed that bucket, and alarmingly, it was 10 pounds of rust. so they welded 200 pounds of metal back into it, which makes this car like a 4,500 pound Alpha Spider.
Always worth a mention, Mofoco in their mid-engine slant 6 Dodge Magnum. Just enjoy some of the details of this car.
Road America has become sort of a destination track for Lemons racers all over the country. We had teams from Massachusetts, Oklahoma, Colorado, Louisiana all show up at this race, but the longest distance award went to Table for One in their BMW E30, who towed all the way from California. Now this is nothing new. Last year, 2 teams towed from California, and both of them went home with non-running and or non-drivable cars. This team finished in the top 10.
It was a Lemons race, so obviously we had some carnage. We'll start with It's a Good Car and their Honda Fit. These were some rookies. We saw them on Friday and they were, just about to head to tech when the car suddenly wouldn't start. Never seen that one before. They spent all weekend then chasing issues only to discover that their wiring harness had kind of broken away from the firewall on the engine side and dropped onto the exhaust manifold, where it melted exactly one wire inside of the harness, which happened to be the ignition wire. Took them about 36 hours to find that. They managed to fix it, but for their boring, unpainted red car, we sent them home with a case of Rost-Oleum cans to finish a theme.
And then there was Sayonara, which was a rookie team with a Scion XA. Somehow this car sheared its camshaft in half. And what do you do when that happens? Well, it turns out you just go to the Toyota dealership and be like, yeah, I need a camshaft, some floor mats, whatever. You get a box, you bring it back to the track, and you put it in. Now, we saw this happening, and we're like, now when the camshaft breaks in half, doesn't that like mess up the top end? And they're like, maybe. We'll find out when we put it in. And it turns out, it just runs perfectly.
Do not attempt with your BMW.
Now we have to talk about the Kenosha Kickers in their AMC Ambassador. Now these are drag week guys who have been running a tunnel-rammed LS and a Power Glide 2-speed in their Ambassador. Now this weekend, their Power Glide cracked the case all the way around it, but no big deal. They're drag racing guys, they carry a backup. That backup was a Turbo 350. Now, you GM files, and I know you're listening, will know that the Power Glide is a 2-speed and the Turbo 350 is a 3-speed. And those aren't the same. The Turbo 350 did fit in just fine, but they only had the Power Glide shifter, so they weren't sure which of the 2 gears would be working. They were lucky enough that it was 2 and 3, so their top speed wasn't 50 miles an hour. Still, awesome car.
All right, here's the winners. In Class C was the Skunk Works Racing Opal GT. Now, they bent the rules a little bit, but hey, it's a loophole. What they did was put a Audi 4.2 V8 into their Opal GT. We probably said at some point, if you put a ridiculously complicated German engine into an Opal GT, you'll be Class C. I don't know, whatever. They took us up on it. They were Class C. We figured there's no way this thing is gonna run, let alone finish, let alone win, but it did. It had a narrow victory in Class C. Well done.
Your Class B winner was forking around in a Dodge Stealth, which means a Mitsubishi product won a class in Lemons.
And the Class A winner was Save the Tatas, and they were in their 56th race, which ties them for most all time with Eyesore Racing. Well done.
All right, let's talk about the trophies that actually matter. Heroic Fix went to Bite Marks Racing in their Nissan 240SX. This team is captained by Keith Kemp, who's been around Lemons for a long time. He's been a Lemons judge. He's run several different cars over the years. At this particular race, the transmission failed on his 240SX just before we had a black flag all, and with some help from his teammates, he threw the $60 replacement they got from some sketchy dude in Alabama in just a few moments, and right after the black flag all ended, back on the racetrack. That was amazing. For an encore, he swapped in the diff later that afternoon, and beyond just swapping in two major components in a day, Keith's been well known for a long time for helping other teams diagnose problems with one little piece of information, or just jumping in and helping them fix their own cars. He's kind of been heroically fixing cars in Lemons for 15 years, so we figured this is a long overdue heroic fix. Well done, Keith Kemp and Bite Marks.
I Got Screwed went to the old dudes in the Ford Ranchero. Now, I might not be getting all of these details 100% right. Why? Because there's too many of them. Basically what happened was, they've raced in Lemons for a long time, but they're from South Carolina. They've always wanted to race Road America, so they loaded up the truck and then headed out. And then at some point in Tennessee, the tow vehicle blew up. So he called up a rental place to see if he could get a replacement tow vehicle, and they said, oh yeah, we got one of those. It's just at our commercial center, which is like 70 miles away. And he was like, okay, well, how do I get there? It's like, we gotta rent a car, dummy. So he rents a car to go get the rental truck, gets the rental truck back, hooks it up to the trailer, finally, after many days and thousands of dollars, makes it to Road America. Gets the Ranchero out on track. Success. Not really. The Ranchero immediately blew up.
The special award for this was the shameless pandering to our series sponsor trophy, which went to the Shank Redemption and their PT Cruiser. They were first in line for the parade, so they were parked right next to HQ, and they brought out a whole bunch of paint and said, paint our piece of crap. And people did. It looked amazing, and they got everybody involved, from people who were racing to just people who were walking by in Elkhart Lake. Well done, Shank Redemption.
Now, we gave out a hella sweet trophy at this race to Idio Racy and their Toyota Avalon. Now, Toyota Avalon, obviously the theme is going to be, we've got a Toyota Avalon, we got it from our grandmother who was a quilter, and this team actually did that. They got their Toyota Avalon from their grandmother who was a quilter. They bribed the judges with actual quilts made by the grandmother. They're from Minnesota. This is just, you can't make it up. They rolled with what they had, and it was awesome.
Judge's choice went to Failed Contraception Racing and their Pontiac Firebird. First off, they put a ridiculously creepy doll in a car seat on the roof. That was seasonal, I suppose, given Halloween coming up, but also kind of seriously unsettling. To add to that, they did a whole 1990s talk show paternity test where the team member's dad was purported to be Jay, Dale, myself, or Rost-Oleum, and in a shocking decision, it turned out I was the father of all their bad ideas, so they kept giving me weird gifts for late Father's Day presents. Anyway, this is a primarily husband-wife team who try really hard to have a good time in Lemons, and they finally, in their fourth race, finished kinda well done, but definitely got the judge's attention.
You are the father!
Organizer's choice went to the Dipsticks and their VW Jetta. This was the second election theme of this event. Now, election themes, they can be a little hit or miss, but the Dipsticks, they nailed it. And they were, of course, campaigning for Dwayne Elizondo Mountain Dew Camacho for president. He's got Brondo support.
Brondo's got what plants crave.
It's got electrolytes.
All right, so the VW Jetta, it might not quite be a Camacho grade ride, but the team still convinced us with their banners, their enthusiasm, and their chanting.
Camacho 2024!
Halloween Meets Gasoline for the best theme and costumes of the weekend went to We're Just Here for the SR and their Chevy Blazer. These guys are always doing constant and epic themes every time they show up. This time around, they themed in a narrow but excellent reference as Harry and Marv, better known as the Wet Bandits, the bad guys from the movie Home Alone. Their Blazer was redone as the A-OK plumbing van from the movie. They dressed in theme with the wounds inflicted on them by Kevin McAllister, and they had wanted posters everywhere for themselves in the paddock and kept asking people if they'd seen Kevin, while occasionally threatening other teams with a crowbar. Very well done all around from one of the top theming teams in Lemons.
All right, before we get into the index of effluency, you know what we say all the time.
Stop emailing us about your RV.
Jeez. No, the other thing we say all the time.
Oh, yeah. Bring more Mercuries to Lemons.
Yes, that. Now, the Kansas City-based Team Skid Steer has 2 Mercuries, so they're really helping the cause.
Well, yeah, you know, we have 2 of them.
They've raced a Class C and IOE winning Bobcat a bunch of times. Earlier this year, they debuted an 81 Mercury Cougar sedan at Hallett. At this race, they had the 2 Mercuries. Now let's talk about the Cougar. The amount of hail damage on the body is spectacular, and Skid Steer wisely left that alone because now it's got dimpled body panels that improves aerodynamics, just like a Porsche Cayman GT4.
Well, okay.
Like a Cayman GT4, it has a 6-cylinder engine.
Well, okay.
In this case, the Ford 200 that makes, on paper, 88 horsepower. This one also has the column-shifted 3-speed automatic, so it was lapping the track at a speed.
Okay.
In fact, it was the 4th slowest car of the entire field, and yet it beat 76 teams and finished 1 minute ahead of its teammate, the Bobcat, in 64th place. And that, folks, is how you win the Index of Effluency.
And this is Lemons in a nutshell.
1, 2, 3.
Every second you don't subscribe or watch one of these videos, another Vega is sent to the crusher. Won't you help us save Classic?